forward progress was interrupted by the piercing blurp of one of the officer's sirens and the intense motion of his hand directing me to approach his car. It was at that moment I realized for the first time I was running down the middle of the FDR, a 6-lane expressway that snakes along the east side shoreline of Manhattan. No wonder the officer's first question when I finally splashed to a stop in front of his car was incredulous and unprintable. How can you run down the middle of a New York freeway and not know it? I think the same way you can live your entire life completely oblivious to the grand story of the Creator of the universe that is unfolding all around you. The same way you can spend your days making so much of someone as small and transient as you or me, and so little of someone as glorious and eternal as God. That's why this book is not about you and making your story better, but about waking up to the infinitely bigger God story happening all around you and God's invitation to you to join Him in it. It's about looking up to see that there's a story that has been going on long before you arrived on the planet and one that will go on long after you're gone. God is the central character of this story and of this book. He commands center stage in existence, creation, time, life, history, redemption, and eternity. I'm not trying to put you down or imply that you don't matter, nor am I saying that you are absent from the grand story of God. In fact, just the opposite. Amazingly, you appear on every page, existing in God's thoughts long before this world was made. I'm simply stating the obvious, that the story already has a star, and the star is not you or me. And here's why it matters. If we don't get the two stories straight, everything else in our lives will be out of sync. We'll spend our days trying to hijack the story of God, turning it into the story of us. Inverting reality, we'll live every day as though life is all about you and me. We'll live as though life is our one-act play and history our story, as though creation is our habitation alone, existence our playground, and God our servant, that is, if we decide we need Him at all. We'll throw every ounce of our energy into the fragmented and fleeting story of us, calling the shots ourselves. Me-centered thinking will dictate every move we make and how we feel. And in the end, when the last clap is clapped for our tiny tale, our story will fade to black, a pitiful return on our one-shot chance called life on earth. About 30 minutes into my ordeal with the officers, the situation lightened a bit, as I realized the worst that was going to happen to me was a ticket for jaywalking, something I certainly deserved. As we were waiting for my life's history to appear on the squad car's computer, the nicer of the two cops asked within earshot of the other, "So what do you do for a living anyway?" Opting for the short answer, I said, "I'm a pastor." 2 sets of eyebrows rose. "A pastor? What kind of pastor are you?" I think he was looking for the name of a denomination, but I replied, "I'm a Christian." "Oh, yeah? Well, what are you doing in New York?" "I'm here to speak to a group of college students tonight out in Queens." "So what are you going to tell them?" For a split second, time stood still. And then I told him, "I'm going to remind them that life is short and our time on earth is really brief. That's why we have to make sure our lives count for the stuff that lasts forever." That's what I want to do in these pages, too. Lead you to a fresh awareness of the 6-lane wide freeway-sized God story that you and I are running down the middle of every day. It's a place that requires a constant choice. We can choose to cling to the starring roles and the little bitty stories of us, or we can exchange our fleeting moment in the spotlight for a supporting role in the eternally beautiful epic that is the story of God. Think of it as trading up. Abandoning the former and embracing the latter will allow our little lives to be filled with the wonder of God as we live for His fame in the unending applause of His name. And joining our small stories to His will give us what we all want most in life anyway, the assurance that our brief moments on earth count for something in a story that never ends. Look up. London. Given the unusual August heat, it's remarkably cool in here. And quiet. At least it was until now. A noisy Italian family has just clambered past me down the aisle, oblivious to the stillness. From where I'm sitting, it looks like Grandma, her favorite, perhaps only son, his wife, and their 3 kids. They all seem instantly impressed, even the daughter, who's now fighting through her outer shell of teen cool to pull the headphones out of her ears. As she looks up, her mouth is wide open, her lips mouthing "wow" in slow motion for no one in particular to hear. A rapid flurry of conversation is being exchanged between them, spearheaded by the dad, whose voice is nearing full volume. Making out the word magnifico, I think he just offered for the family's consideration, "Isn't this place magnificent?" Everyone except the littlest one nods, especially Grams, who seems to be genuinely awestruck by what she sees, and maybe equally moved that she's seeing it with the people she loves most. She looks to be close to 70, a small, roundish woman with a gentle smile and still sparkling eyes. Dad, as you might expect, has the tourist look. Sandals, with dark socks of course, zip-off cargo pants, sunglasses perched atop a closely shaved head, and the can't-leave-home-without-it fanny pack. He's holding an open brochure which rattles in the air as he gestures wildly. Then there's Mom, all classic Italian glam with her designer jeans, high heels, and hip shades. Isabella, the teen daughter, yes, I know her name by now, as to all of those within 50 feet of her dad, is trying her best to have a good time without appearing to be overly into the family outing. Her jeans are ragged out and about 4 inches too long, hiding what I think are Birkenstocks underneath. A pink backpack follows her every move, as does the attached snowboard-shaped keychain that swings from side to side. Fortunately for her younger teen brother, the keychain is just at the right height for him to demonstrate his kung fu skills with his foot, which he does repeatedly on the way down the aisle. And then there's little Paulie. At maybe 5 or 6, he must be the darling of the clan. Every other second, his name echoes off the walls, being constantly called by father, mother, brother, sister, and grandma. But Paulie is zoned out in Nintendo land, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't hear a thing. He's simply following along with a child's sixth sense, never taking his eyes off the video images dancing on the screen of the game player that's firmly in his grip. Little does he know, he's in a place that bears his name. Enormous and ancient, St. Paul's Cathedral is one of the world's most amazing structures, completed more than 300 years ago, in an era when the very act of coming to worship caused you to look up in awe and wonder. For an hour or so, a steady stream of reverent and not-so-reverent onlookers have come by, a multitude of faces and cultures, a tour group of about 60, a few dozen school kids with British accents, couples, loners, families like my Italian family. And you know what? They've all been doing exactly the same thing, craning their necks and looking high above. For good reason. The ceiling looms 9 stories above, giving way to the world's second-largest vaulted dome, a cavernous opening spanning more than 100 feet, a jaw-dropping ring of open wonder rising still higher overhead. To say this place is huge is a massive understatement. It's almost 2 football fields long. The dome alone weighs 65,000 tons, and the cross that adorns its outer shell rises 365 feet above London's Ludgate Hill, the spot of earth that's been home to a church building since 1087. But St. Paul's is lifting my heart and my head towards something even bigger, something higher, someone